So you may continue.
Okay, and the business of self-governance is important. I think even in the last regime, something like this was proposed when the presidency launched a campaign called, change begins with
With me.
me. If you do not, as a countryman, you know, give your part in building the structure of governance, because you are one of the most important unit in a society. If you choose to be useless, which is what many people have chosen to become, when you need to build a Nigerian brand, you need to you should be the first, a face of Nigeria, be a successful Nigerian. Build businesses that Nigeria and Nigerians will be proud of. Don't wait for
The government to create an
government to
opportunity.
lead the way. Government only tries
Provides
to
platform.
organize man and material resources and policies and so on that can help country people bring out the best in them. Basically, that is what it is. I, for instance, run a business, and my fuel in that business is when I look at other people in other parts of the country doing great things, and I keep saying to myself, what have we done to our country? I keep giving an example that my grandparents from maternal and paternal side are all Sharia court judges. They have contributed to building this country as judges and so on. And what have I done at my own level as a contribution to building this country? But not only that, should I choose to be irresponsible so that the consequences will be about, throwing away the head labor of building the country?
Yeah.
So I think this is a very important agenda Yunusa has spoken about. And this agenda, as much as we are the players, the government must begin to champion it. Government should, in a sense, tell people that we are nothing without this business of self-governance you will bring to the board. And that's a very important campaign. One problem we don't have, one problem we suffer from in this country is the lack of a clearly defined national agenda into which everyone can key in. We do not have national agenda in other parts of the world. People look for, leaders go into war because people unite in times of war. That gives people a common ground, such that after the war, people are already united, brought together. That's the problem of a country like Nigeria. There isn't any, ideological framework. There is no any national idea that anchors
everyone.
The relationship between government and the people, society and the individual, family and the community, university and the community, student and the teacher. There isn't anything.
Now,
like
since
that.
you are bringing something about national agenda, I know you may have a suggestion in mind. You may have a clear definition of an example of what national agenda is. Can you tell our viewers what you see Nigerians? What do you think Nigerians can adopt as a national agenda?
Okay, I think even before that, there have been some agenda. There is this Vision 2020 and Vision 2010. Then during the time of Abacha, but then it is given a roadmap to the country. We are saying that this is something that the country should achieve in so years. And this is what every Nigerian should put to heart, that this is what we want to achieve. You see, there is this issue that I raise. I still believe the Nigerians should have a check and balance, where they will tell their leaders that now you are into power, for the next 4 years. In these 4 years, in the first year, this is what we want you to achieve. We have our checklist, there is budget, and there is everything. We want this and this and this to be achieved.
But don't you think that a lot of Nigerians are disinterested in what is happening in the governance?
No, there has to be an orientation. I think this is one of the main importance of media and civil society organization and even the government itself. So the people have to be reoriented. They have to be taught, that these are the kind of things that we expect the government to do, and this we should hold the government at ransom
Accountable.
if these things are not achieved.
I get.
I think this is very important.
Coming back to you, sir.
Okay, sometimes this national agenda, national idea, or ideological base we are talking about is not always something very profound. It's not even if it is something not very robust. So long as it anchors, it pulls the people together towards a common direction. Every civilization you see in the world is anchored towards a particular, it's directed towards a particular, is built around a particular agenda. In fact, much more civilizations that succeed so much because of the strength of this idea to convince people. You see the Western civilization built around capitalism and democracy. You see, so this is an idea. But when we come to agenda, I keep giving people the example of the Meiji Revolution and Restoration in Japan. When the Japanese people came face to face with the realities of colonial occupation. Before that period, for a very long time in the history of Japan, they do not interact with the rest of the world because they believe they are self-sufficient. To them, every other person other than a Japanese is a barbarian. But by the 19th century, industrial revolution had already taken place in Europe. There is advancement in marine, military, technology, and so on. So Europeans could sail down to,
Japan,
the shores of Japan, Asia, and so on. Now they have they have mastered the geography of the world and so on. They are exploring the world, which is so there is a knowledge deficit, exposure deficit in the Japanese, mindset. They do not know that the world has moved on in their period of iron clad foreign policy. Now, when the Europeans indicated in their overtures that they want to subject the Japanese people, who had a very huge sense of their prestige
and identity, realize that if we make a mistake of going into war with these people, they may defeat us and we may lose our prestige for life.
Now, what do we do to keep the prestige? There must be something about these people that gives them the confidence to not only sail down to our shores, but to try to subject us to their rule. And we should learn from them. We should learn from them. And so the Japanese people opened their doors, welcomed the Europeans, with the US at that time also, trying to find a space in international space. They established a program in which Japanese students will be, taken to Western institutions to learn, to go to school and so on and so on, to acquire what they consider the modern knowledge. After they've acquired this knowledge, it was easier for them to stand their grounds, and that's why as early as 1804,
we're having a call. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. How are you?
Fine, sir.
You're speaking to Harun Abubakar.
Harun Abubakar.
Yes.
All right. So
What's
welcome to the
your
program.
Okay. I'm a card holding registered member of APC.
MashaAllah.
And I'm following this program throughout the coalition period.
Thank you very
So
much.
since we have become the winners, so I thought of calling and say congratulations to all APC members and to discuss more on your program.
Okay, well, we have a question for you since you are from APC, something we've been battling about ever since your candidate has been was announced. What next then after the victory? What are we to keep to look out for?
Actually, if you have listened to the speech of the president-elect, actually he has discussed a lot of concerning things. One of the things that I took point is things that has to do with youth. Actually, he said their voice is loudly being heard. So, following the track record of both the president and the vice president, actually, I can speak for the vice president, is one of the person that has involved youth in throughout his government. I think he has appointed more than 100 youth to his government as advisors, personal SEA, senior special advisors. So, and he has a lot of knowledge when it comes to things of how to do things and to trending technologies actually. So youth should expect this is their government and this is the government that will make them happy. And hopefully in the next 4 years actually we are going to be left without no option to vote for him again.
From all indication, I'll call as a youth and an advocate of a youth.
Thank you very much. So we will be expecting a youth inclusive governance in the next 4 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much for
Thank
your
you very much
contribution.
for
You may
calling.
always call to give us your thoughts and ideas. We appreciate.
Thank you very much.
Okay, this issue of national agenda that we are talking about, there is something that people need to understand about it. It is something that all Nigerians subscribe to. It, irrespective of religious sentiment, ethnic sentiment, or any regional sentiment. It is something that all Nigerians subscribe to. If anybody is trying to affect that agenda, all Nigerians will gang up against him.
I get.
So the Nigerians must have that clear knowledge about that national agenda. The Nigerians maybe can put education, for instance. Anyone who will bring setback to that education, all Nigerians will gang up against him. Security, that this is where we want to achieve. Economy, this is where we want to achieve in development. Technology, I think these are the things that Nigerians should look after, and these are the things that the government should advocate for. The government should have like a checklist of this, that every day Nigerians are being reminded of. This is the agenda we have, and anyone who will bring any obstacle to this agenda should be cut off.
Now, if I may comment, I think the idea of national agenda should be based on people. People should define. If you the way people are, if you tell a person to go right, he may want to test left because he doesn't even know why you are saying he should go right. You get it? Yes. So people are always stubborn when they are informed to do something. Yes. But if the people come out, or someone among the people comes out, yes, and then brings up something and say, okay, it doesn't even necessarily need to be pronounced that this is a national agenda. Yes. People will just maybe take it up. You get it? Let's say, okay, a national agenda like a clean environment. If everyone will maintain a clean environment.
No, what we are talking about is it is something of ideology. That it is ideology. It is ideology. It has to be.
You're confusing the issue of agenda and ideology here. What we are talking about is something that becomes the underlying foundation for every decision we take. Like, for instance, Nigeria wants to be the greatest black nation on earth, such that when you go to the university, you want to be part of this pride. you want for your country.
That is what we are talking about.
You when you start building a business, you want the business to become the best business by a black man. You know, this is what we want. This will anchor everyone's decision, and it is important because when you don't define this ideology for people, they invent their own narrow ideologies, which is provided for by a lot of factors: their ethnicity, their history, their religion, and so on. So they now go back to it because there is nothing that pulls them together at the national level. So people now fall back to what is available at their local sector. That's the problem. And then, so when we have this ideology, then we begin to what? Define agenda. We give the checklist, okay, in education. So our students, right from primary school, are going to school not just because they want to earn a job, but they want they want to make sure that they are part. They want to make sure that this country is one of the best, is a best black country. This is what we are saying. When you start a company, you are not doing it for profit alone.
I understand.
You know, you want the business to become the largest employer of labor in the among the black race. Things like that. This is essentially what we are talking. And for these things, essentially, that is what leadership is about. The greatest invention by a man is not the aeroplane, is not the steam engine and so on. The greatest invention by a man is building the idea of government, to find people who are otherwise, you know, almost wild, surviving for themselves, bringing them together, acquiring or you know, seeking their submission to government, to authority, because government is not the president, is not some sort of, you know, cabinet somewhere. Government is the idea that pulls you in, that makes you want to subject yourself to willingly. Then at the other end, for those who may not willingly subject themselves, then there is a threat of force, which is, you know, used side by side by the government. That is what government is. And in this part of the world, we have done that consistently. In our history, we have it a lot. What we are saying now is that our government should go back to giving people this sense of identity, ideology, and direction. If they lead the way, then, and to do this, just convince the people about the merits.
I think we'll start by Tinubu becoming the best black president.
Things like that. Yeah, so I want to make your country the best black country on earth.
And I want to also
and sometimes
be the best.
These things are some of the greatest presidents you see are not those who really perform well, but those who make good rhetorics. You know, get people. Otherwise, this is what defined Obama's presidency. He has this capacity, this eloquence to rally around the whole country towards a national agenda of the United States of America. So I think what Yunusa is saying is very apt. Orientation, continuous insistence by those in power that we are doing this for so purpose. And one of the problems of this administration that is facing us is actually at the level of communication, national awareness, and campaign. We had a presidency that, you know, suffers from a case of extreme, you know, extreme complacence, you know, and I think the next regime would achieve a lot if it seeks to, you know, build on that.
Well, I think we are having a call here from Harun Abubakar again. Probably,
I think he was the last person we spoke
Okay.
to.
yeah.
I just want to
Can you call Prof so that we don't?
Okay.
insult.
Okay, you may continue before.
Okay. Now, one of the major problems that APC faced
Still busy?
in its last administration is the issue of security. This issue of security is what I want this particular government to take very serious, because without security, they cannot do anything, nothing at all.
So,
In fact, at a point in time, the previous government had to spend much of its budget on acquiring weapons and a lot of logistics, putting it back into compensation and security, and security. So what I want this particular administration to do is to reorient the people. People should be the drivers of security, because they shouldn't leave the whole issue of security to the military alone. There are regions and states where there is no issues of
if you say people
kidnapping,
should, how do you mean people should be the drivers of security?
just like what happened in Borno. This issue of civilian JTF, now there is almost civilian JTF in every community in Borno. Every community. There is hardly a street in Borno where there is no civilian JTF.
You see-
So those civilian JTF have very good contact with the military. Immediately they see anything, they report it to their to the military, and action is being taken. I think this is one of the mechanisms used in ending, at least subduing the insecurity here in Borno and the Northeast at large. So what I want, I think there is even an advocate by my colleague here in some of his report where he said the security alone cannot tackle this problem of insecurity in the northwest. So the people have to come in. They have to stand up. They have to say no to what is happening. In other regions where there is no problem of kidnapping, maybe banditry and Boko Haram, the people should be the watch guard there. They should immediately, when they see anything, report before any incident comes up. We are not hoping for that.
So let me just add to that and probably just talk about the economy before we round off. What Yunusa is saying is very important. I've been campaigning since 2010 that Boko Haram cannot be defeated without the involvement of the community. But at that time, what we are saying is that the community, the reason why we were emphasizing on that is that we have been on demand in the Nigerian security structure. And the government in the last 5 years or so has done a lot to recruit a lot of people into the Nigerian security establishment from these communities. So we have to increase the manpower. So because when people are, preoccupied by the business of civilian JTF, then we are losing manpower in the area of productivity, innovation, and so on. That's also another problem. So Nigeria should recruit career security men from communities, train them on community policing, ensure that they work with security structures, existing community structures to deal with this, so that when you go to report, when you practice your business of journalism, you are focused on that, not to go back to your community and do the business of civilian JTF. The only thing which I think we can take out from your submission is that, okay, there should be a way in which members of community can detect potential for crisis, and then have a system within the community to report it and to have a way in which to deal with it before it escalates. I think that sense of responsibility should be taken up by all of us, because at least the little we can do is to report these things to the right authorities. But what if the right authorities are not there, or what if people don't have confidence in them? And this is the area which government needs to work on. Basically, this is what
This makes me remember one campaign during Jonathan's administration. Is it? It has been played on NTA every time.
When you see something,
When
say
you see something,
Yeah,
say something.
yeah,
So I think that is very, very important. So let us come back to the subject of economy and see what projections we have for Nigeria's economy this time around.
I think one qualities Tinubu may have is in trying to is in the area of, you know, the economy. When you look at Lagos, what Tinubu did in Lagos is simple. How do you work with the business community,
the private sector.
private sector, to tap into available resources? How and he had many actors at that time. You only gave them the environment. You only worked with them to pursue his ideas, his thoughts, because the mindset in the private sector is different from the public sector.
Yeah.
You know, people begin to look at, when in the public sector people ask questions about whether it is possible. In the private sector, the question is always, how can we do
Make
it?
it possible.
You know, and that when the question is wrong, the answer will be wrong. How can we do it should be the spirit.
Right question.
And I think this is one thing with Tinubu. He doesn't. He is very pragmatic. I think, based on how, when you look at his political career, this was someone who was a governor in '99. This was someone who was following MKO in '93. But when he realized that he had ambition in the future to become a president, he started planning since that time. The problem many other candidates had in pursuing this office is that people don't build the record. People don't build, don't go through the processes. People want to start from the top. So that tells you that he has a powerful ability to
Envision and plan.
to plan, prioritize, strategize, pursue
Implement.
accordingly. Very importantly, if you don't have this patience to strategize, plan, and implement, you cannot achieve anything. And Nigeria needs someone who can dream big and is not scared by how big he plans. It is very little. We have great people doing great things, but let me give you an example myself and Yunusa are dealing with in the Northeast. We're a media organization. We have, for instance, equipment, machinery, probably very few platforms have. But, you know, when we seek to get a patronage from certain institutions of the government, instead of them to patronize us, they would, you know, seek to do what we should do. You know, so how then do you as a businessman grow in that environment? You know, ordinarily government sometimes provides the environment, the private sector does most of the work and at the end of the day the government takes the credit. So when you patronize the private sector, from the process of the private, from the part of the patronage, they will pay taxes, they will hire, they will employ people, but not only that, they will what? They will grow to the extent that they will leave that particular location, go elsewhere, and build businesses that will what? That will funnel in resources back into the home state. Because even if it is just in organizing marriage ceremonies, naming ceremonies, and so on, if the money is circulated, it is for the good of the society. So we want someone who has this awareness to provide the environment for private sector to succeed. What it can do at the other end is to be able to take the part of the population by insisting that taxes are paid. Taxes are paid and put to proper use. Now, Nigeria has many businesses that it is running much more with some sort of, socialist mindset. You cannot run business in this modern world with a socialist mindset. We are in a capitalist world. You have to play the games accordingly. So, the NNPC, you have refineries that have been built 30, 40 years ago. How then do you hope to play at the higher level? People who have these resources in the past are investing heavily in that, but where are we putting our money? Subsidy. Where are we putting our money? Paying salaries. These are the things.
We are not generating more than
So I think Tinubu is one person who will, I think, not be afraid to confront this monster that the Nigerian economic sector has transformed itself into. Power holding company, NNPC, banking sector. There are a lot of reforms that needs to be, immediately taken without any fear or favor. It has to be taken now. And I think if he can do the things he has done in Lagos, then I think he will succeed. But we have to warn the public that when these reforms begin, people will suffer. It is difficult to fix the economy.
Okay, my own take on the issue of this whole economy is I will still go back to security. I don't know why I love the issue of security. Is maybe in the past 6-7 years I have been covering security, and I know the impact of security. Borno used to be one of the economic hub of virtually West Africa to a great extent.
One of the economic hub.
Yes. Because of this insurgency in Borno, it is connected to 3 international countries. So because of this insurgency, a lot of economic activities have stopped. Trans-border trade, a lot of it. Farmers, for instance, could not farm. People could not take their goods from farm to marketplaces. Marketers could not transport their goods to other countries. Goods could not be imported to this country, all because of security. So the government must look at the issue of security and put it first. Once this issue of security is settled, there are a lot of private organizations which are ready to come in, private sectors which are ready to invest. And if that environment is given to them, as far as there is security, people will be ready to invest in these communities. You cannot just go and invest in a community where then all your investment will overnight be destroyed by insurgency.
Now, lastly, do you think this coming administration will perform better than the Buhari-led administration?
Well, I have to say, because Buhari administration has performed tremendously in certain sectors. Areas where it has failed, it is the challenges of modern day governance. We can only appreciate the things Buhari has done after he must have left. One of which is the conduct of the 2023 general election. If there is any problem with the election, it is much more the problem of politics rather than to say. The presidency has, President Buhari has done a lot in the area of infrastructure, and infrastructure is the basis of national development. Without infrastructure, people cannot build. The problem Yunusa is talking about of insecurity affecting the economic value chain can be traced to failure in the area of infrastructure. There is no third road from Maiduguri to Gamboru or Maiduguri to Bagabama. All of them have have now until recently have become almost
Inaccessible.
unplayable. Now, when you don't have infrastructure, it affects economic productivity. And when economic productivity is affected, people don't have spaces to what? To participate in the economy. And when people don't have economy to participate, the few who have the means to become the enemy. And so therefore the rest will begin to insist on their right to survive by compromising the peace and stability of that society. And that gives room for insecurity and violence. So what we are saying is that, okay, let us deal with the business of infrastructure, which this government has worked on tremendously. I think the coming government will build upon that. All roads that are in strategic locations should be the focus of this government. When you fix infrastructure, it deals with a lot of social, political problems. People who feel marginalized and so on always feel marginalized because they think that what you, for instance, have in Lagos is unavailable in their society, and how do you expect them to participate, to perform at the level of people in Lagos? So basically these are the things, but I cannot say if this government for sure will perform better than
but you hope,
because that's my hope. And I still believe that in governance there isn't one person performing better than the other if there is a good continuity. Yes.
Okay, my own take is that I believe Buhari has already set some grounds, but it has really failed in its government and some of the mandate that people, especially being a former, a retired general, the issue of security and insecurity in the country. I think these are things that this government should really look at, and I believe if already with the president, this administration has secured some weapons and other things to contain the insecurity in the country. If there is proper utilization of these secured weapons and what we have at hand, and also if mostly the problem is that when you contact the security chiefs, you will hear that yes, the money is there, is budgeted, but it doesn't reach them at the end. So I hope that this administration will make sure that everything is put in place to ensure security in this country, and if there is security, there will be development.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you very much for joining this program today, and we come to the last episode of this particular session. We are coming back.
Maybe you have a call if
okay.
you can spare a minute or so.
Hello.
Hello.
Who do we have on the line?
Yeah, it's Ahmed Bala Mohammed from the line calling.
Okay, Ahmad Bala Mohammed, you are welcome to the program. What do you have for us as we are running up?
Yeah, I connected to Facebook and I have watched at least for some minutes. I've watched your program. It's very interesting, in fact.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and to add my own side of the view to the program, actually comparing Buhari's administration to this, for us Nigerians, this very administration is going to give us, in fact, a very good and a different journey entirely from the past one.
Okay.
Looking at the discipline of the past, the discipline of the past administration as a military man, the way he handled the country, he handled it according to his own discipline. Likewise, the incoming one who are non-civilian, and also the vice president and the president who are like economists by discipline. So I think in terms of business and other infrastructures in the country, we are going to enjoy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining the program. We hope that the coming administration will perform much more better than the present administration. So thank you very much for joining once again. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
So that was the last comment we are taking. So have a great weekend. So as I mentioned, we are going to resume this program subsequently as soon as the gubernatorial elections begin. Thank you very much.